let's get into some of the stories that have been dragging the administration down so far. And let's start with the HR stuff. You testified at a hearing about salary levels within the administration earlier this month. The mayor has decided to roll back the salaries of people that exceeded mandated caps, but we're still talking about pretty high salaries with the rolled back payroll. Your chief of staff, for example, still makes more than $190,000 a year. As the person in charge of making sure the city runs smoothly, how do you justify these pay levels?
Well, I think in some cases, like when you refer to my chief of staff, his salary was actually higher in his role when he worked with me on the Public Education Facilities Modernization Office, and the mayor believes in paying for higher quality and more experienced professionals, and in some cases the numbers are lower than what might have been paid, I think, or was paid by Mayor Gray's predecessor, and in other cases it is higher, and but it's a reflection of the marketplace. And
I was about to ask, where do you think salary levels fit into how the city needs to compete for top-flight talent for public jobs?
Well, there's certain positions that I think the mayor believes that it should be paid at a certain level, and then there are other positions I think that he has, that he feels shouldn't fall into the cap. They tend to, for instance, the chancellor's position, they tend to be driven by how the competing, jurisdictions and sometimes other cities and how they pay, how they compensate their superintendent or chancellor.
I realize you're not supposed to be the political person, but for the mayor to have a chief of staff and pay her $200,000, which is the same salary as the mayor. Now, frankly, I can make an argument that a chief of staff or a $10 billion manager of a government, it's not that expensive, but politically,
somebody made the point that was more than the president's last chief of staff was making.
There you have it. So it's called public service, I think, is what people ask you to do. But I think you guys do recognize the political vulnerability that you guys have for these salaries.
Yeah, we recognize that, and I think that even in the case that you just referred to, I believe she was compensated much more in her previous capacity. But we're sensitive to these issues, and I don't really think that we're being capricious about it. The mayor is looking to bring in the best people. If you actually look at his budget, or when you look at his budget when he unveils it, you'll see that that in some cases the salaries may be higher for a certain individual for certain particular positions, but overall that office or that unit is operating under a lower budget than the previous administration.
I don't want to go into it too much, but several reporters are asking about the Department of Employment Service Director, Rochelle Webb, who came from Arizona. Apparently he stayed for an undetermined amount of time at the W Hotel downtown, had a driver for 1 or 2 months. I'm not sure how long. That's over now. But I just think that when the budget comes out and these community groups come before the council and to worry about their cuts, they're going to say, well, what about the Director of Employment Services? What about the Chief of Staff and the salaries that they get and the perks they get? Well, it seems to put you in a kind of a bad spot.
The Director of Employment Services, Dr. Webb, I know there's been recent articles about the expenses for her relocation, but the district law speaks of reasonable pre-employment travel and relocation expenses, such as temporary housing allowances, and I believe it's limited to a 60-day period.
And $181 a day or something like that. But it's the W Hotel. I mean, that's one of the fanciest hotels in town in terms of people who'd like to dress up and go drink on the roof.
Well, maybe so. I haven't been up there to dance and
nor have
drinking on the roof.
Drinking on the roof, but it is close to the close to the Wilson Building, and also.
So is the Residence Inn at Thomas Circle.
Well, you may be right. I have some comparables, and many of the hotels that are nearby are actually charging more than the 181 that was paid by the city for Ms. Webb.
As someone